Hello, welcome once again. This is Marilyn, and I've just noticed that my pajamas. Welcome back, everybody. This is Marilyn from the Sarno's Casa. Glad to be back. Another week, another recipe. This is a free recipe that's available on my website, blog, whatever you want to call it. I'll link it below. And it is my shepherd's pie recipe. Some will say it's Scottish, some will say it's Irish. I don't know the political background of it. However, I do know that it is a delicious winter warmer recipe. It's amazing. It's easy. There is a bit of ingredients, but it's easy enough, and it makes a great family-friendly meal. There is some veg in it, but I will show you little tips and tricks along the way, substitutes, things you can add, take out. But overall, I love this recipe. So if you like my recipes, I will remind you to subscribe, like, share any of it, because it would mean the world. So what I'll do is I'll flip the camera around, as we always do. I'll take you through the ingredients and we'll get cooking. I do want to also remind everybody, just with any recipes that are on my website or the blog, whatever you want to call it, you'll find if you scroll down a little bit, there's a little video, YouTube, usually it's a short of showing you the recipe. I just find that by adding that video on the website with the recipe, shows you sometimes some little steps that you might be like, oh, is it supposed to look like this? Is it not supposed to look like that? And there is a little print PDF button somewhere amongst the recipe where you can print off any recipe. It just makes it so much easier for, for those of us that don't like to follow recipes on our phone. I'm a big cookbook, hard copy, paper person. I like to have something tangible, have the music playing in the background, or my kids screaming, usually the time kids screaming in the background, but I like to have that. So I thought I'd just let you know. And if you like any of the recipes that I share, don't forget you can leave a comment below, you can also leave a star rating on my website, and that also helps other people that might stumble across the website go, yeah, you know what? There's a few people that are liking this. I'm going to give it a go. If you have any tips or little things that you've added or taken out or substituted, I'd love to know as well, because it helps other people, especially with dairy-free options and whatnot. So anyway, let's flip the camera around. God, that was a long intro. I always do that. Long, but for a reason. All right, let's go through the ingredients. Okay, ingredients time. So pretend there's a little divider here. These are all the ingredients that we're going to need for the mash that goes on top. And then these are all the ingredients that we're going to need for the pie filling. First things first, beef mince. Do not use lean beef, just a regular, because we don't want it to be dry. We have Worcestershire sauce. Someone's definitely going to be like, is that how you say it? I always laugh when that comes up. We have our sofrito, so onion, carrot, celery, finely diced. We have mushrooms. We have some bay leaves. You can leave the mushrooms out by all means. I like to add them in. We have beef stock. If you don't want to buy beef stock, I always leave, the stock powder in the pantry with water. We have some garlic. Now, if you haven't made my homemade minced garlic, I say this nearly every video, please do so. It's so handy. So minced garlic, plain flour. This is our thickening agent. We have some fresh herbs. Now, I have thyme, flat leaf parsley, and rosemary. If you do not have thyme, you can leave that out. Do not use dry thyme. I find that it gives a totally different taste. If you don't have parsley, it's okay. We can kind of work with no parsley. What the star herb in this is rosemary. For me, it's not a shepherd's pie without rosemary in it. That's my personal opinion. Maybe someone could be like, it traditionally doesn't have it in there, and that is okay. But for me, it's fine. And if you do not have fresh rosemary or it's not in season, dry rosemary is absolutely fine. You want to probably just lessen the amount that the recipe calls for, just because it's a little bit more, stronger in taste. We have tomato paste. I want to say that if you are making this recipe, I would double batch this, and you can always freeze half of the mixture in the freezer, because it makes, you can just at a later date, whip it out, already made that, and whip up some mash and put it in the oven. Or you could use this filling mixture as a pie filler, in the pie maker. You could buy some puff pastry, fill it up, and just bake them. So it's really handy. I always think when I'm doing a recipe that is a little bit labor intensive in terms of chopping, I always double batch and keep it in the freezer for a later date. Then we're going to get onto the mash. Again, probably not traditional, but I like it. We have 800 grams of potatoes. I'm using Desiree. It's nice and starchy. I've cubed them equally so they cook around the same time. We have milk, butter. I put parmesan, grated parmesan in this mixture. This is definitely not traditional, but super yummy. Garlic powder, cracked black pepper, and salt. So I'm going to get boiling. I'm going to boil the potatoes. While that is boiling, we're going to get started on the filling mixture so everything is kind of in flow. So let's flip the camera around and start cooking. I'm literally propping my camera on anywhere that it fits. So got our potatoes in a pot. Got a medium-sized pot. I don't even know if that's big enough. So we've got them all in there, evenly cubed, adding some cold water just to cover the potatoes. I'm going to bring them up to the boil and then a simmer. Should probably take about 15 to 20 minutes to cook through. So let's pop that on. And then I don't add any salt, nothing, literally just as is, okay? We're going to bring that to the boil, let it simmer, cook 15 minutes while we get started on our filling mixture. While the potatoes are coming up to the boil, adding in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil into our pan. I'm using just a pan that's not too shallow. And then we're going to go in with our onion, celery, and carrot. Now, some people will brown off the mince first, and that is totally fine. You can do that. I like to cook this for about 6 to 8 minutes on a medium-low heat, just to soften it up and enhance its flavors a little bit before I brown off my mince. So what I like to do is I like to put the lid on and let the heat do its thing. So about 6 to 8 minutes on a really kind of like low heat before we add in our mince. Our sofrito has been cooking for about 6 to 8 minutes. I'm going to go in with our minced garlic, cook that off for about a minute, all right, just until it's fragrant. And then we're going to add in our beef mince. So this has all been done. Oh my gosh, everything's flying. This has been done on a medium-low heat. Once I add in the beef mixture, I'm going to turn the heat up to medium-high because we definitely want that mince to brown and caramelize to intensify the flavor. Let's go in. So turn the heat up. Going to literally brown off the mince. I've been seeing some chefs firstly browning off the mince first, but on a high heat with oil, placing the whole mince piece in the pan and leaving it to just really caramelize, I suppose, before they break it up. I've yet to try it. I don't know. Has anyone done that before? Is that what people do? Have I been doing it wrong my whole life? Anyway, I'd love to know. And we're going to brown this off, okay? Make sure that there's no chunky lumps. I like to use a flat spatula to do so. I just feel like it makes my life easier. You can use a wooden one. I'm just using a silicone. Just look, you can see, breaks it up super easy. So let that brown off a little bit and then I'll continue breaking it up. Our mince has browned off nicely. I've just switched spatulas. See, it just made my life easier breaking that up with the flat-ended spatula. I'm going to go in with our bay leaves. If you ever see fresh bay leaves in your fruit and veg shop, definitely buy them. Leave them out to dry. I just stick them in a vase on the dining table. Makes great decoration. They'll dry up. So I wash them, let them dry, and just a whole different aromat. I'm just going to go in our mushrooms. Again, if you don't like mushrooms, leave them out, or your kids will gag on them. I didn't like mushrooms as a kid. It's 100% a textural thing. You could definitely leave it out. I'm a big fan, so I've got them in. So just going to cook that for a couple of minutes. And I'm going to turn the heat down to low. And we're going to add in our flour. And I'll show you what to do next. Let's go in with our tomato paste, about 2 tablespoons. By all means measure it, but I can guesstimate it at this point. Let's give that a quick stir. See the alarms going off for the potatoes. I'll check that in a second. Let's mix that in. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of plain flour. This is what's going to thicken up the whole mixture. We don't want a runny, loose mince mixture at the bottom of a pie. Once it's thick enough, we're going to add in our flour. And cooked and we've let it sit and cool down a little bit, you will notice that it'll just hold better. That's all. I'm just cooking it off for a minute or so just so we can get rid of that floury taste, if that makes sense, and evenly coat all the mixture, the mince and filling mixture evenly. Add that, turn the heat down to low. I'll show you what to do next. So let's go in with our Worcestershire sauce, about a tablespoon. I love Worcestershire sauce. I put this in my burger mince recipe. It's delicious. Going with that, we're going to add in our stock, so about a cup there. Okay, and our fresh herbs. Let's go in. So parsley, rosemary, fresh thyme. I just love that trio. But by all means, rosemary is the key in this dish, in my opinion. We are going to cook this for about 3 to 5 minutes. 3 minutes is usually enough on low with the lid on, okay, just to really thicken up the sauce and cook off any veggies that are still hard. My potatoes are done. They're over here. So I'm going to drain off the water of the potatoes, show you how to do it. At this point, preheat your oven because we're going to transfer it into a baking dish. As such, pie dish, baking dish, whatever you have, Corningware, I will bake it. So I wanted to give a little tip about cooking with the lid on and off. This might be very, common sense knowledge to some, and some people may probably be a little bit confused. So when you are cooking with the lid off, you essentially are wanting to evaporate liquid. I did not want to evaporate excess liquid. I wanted to retain it, so that's why I cooked it with the lid on. So if you ever think and you're cooking a recipe and you think, okay, there's a lot of liquid in this and it's going to be very soupy, cook with the lid off. If you are wanting, to retain, you're happy with the amount of liquid, you want to keep cooking it a little bit just to soften up any ingredients or enhance the flavors, keep the lid on. Anyway, I thought I would share that with you. No idea how that fly got in. Anyway, all right, I have drained off the water from the potatoes. They are fully cooked through. Make sure they are cooked through. Do not want hard potatoes because they just will not mash well. I've added in a tablespoon of butter. I like to just pop it just down the bottom, cover it up, just while we add the rest of the ingredients. I'm adding salt, pepper and garlic powder. You could add onion powder as well to this. It's totally optional. Adding that in, half a cup of milk as such. And I'll add in the Parmesan a little bit after. So again, just mash it with a masher. I've got a little electric one. So I'll mash this up and I'll show you the consistency. It's not going to be, look, this is just delicious. It is, when I make mashed potato, I don't just, do potato, milk, butter, salt, pepper. That's totally fine if that's it. If you want some epic mashed potatoes, definitely add in, you could also add in a red onion diced up into the pot as you're boiling the potatoes. I think that it gives a beautiful taste, but definitely Parmesan, garlic and onion powder. So good. Like, just try it and report back. Mashed potatoes have been mashed. Add in our grated Parmesan. You don't have to add this into the mash mixture. You could definitely add this on top, or you can add extra. It's optional. I love it. You could add in ground pecorino. I just find the pecorino, it's a little bit sharper, so it's definitely going to give a stronger taste. So for me, Parmesan is perfect in this. I'll show you. Hold this. That is the consistency of our mash. Beautiful. Now, I'm not, a Michelin chef that's got to pass this through to make it, extremely silk. To me, that is a recipe in itself, guys. That's like my signature mash kind of recipe. So you're welcome. If you don't make the actual shepherd's pie and you just Want to make the mash with some sausages, some roast veg, or a salad, bangers and mash, you got to do it. Anyway, I want a whole comment section around the mash in itself. Anyway, let's put this together. Preheating my oven at 200 degrees. I am going to have this pie dish. If you don't have a pie dish, it is totally fine. You could just use a Corningware, anything that can be put in the oven. This is around, I think, 25 centimeters. Let me just, I did measure it out. What did I have? Oh my gosh. 23 centimeters. 23 to be precise, but it doesn't matter. It could be oval, anything that can be put in the oven. All right, let's assemble this and get it baking. So good. Deadly good. Fish out the bay leaves. Nobody wants to eat a bay leaf. I'm sure someone would have done that in their lifetime. So just take them out. Get our spatula, pour this mixture into our pie dish of choice, like that. All right, just evenly flatten it out. Beautiful. I'm going to grab a large spoon. I feel like I'm so not organised today. And of course I don't have a large spoon right there. But I do have one right here. Okay. You could put the mash in a piping bag and beautifully pipe it on. I don't have time. I just grab a scoop and just put a dollop on the surface as such. If you pour the whole mixture and try to spread it, sometimes it gets caught up in the sauce and yeah, it just mixes up in the mash on the top. I'd like to just do it like this. It's rustic, it's gorgeous, delicious. And you know what? You could add some fresh herbs to the top of this mash mixture before we bake it in the oven. You could add in fresh herbs similar to the ones that you've used inside. You know, sometimes we've just got, I've had an abundance of herbs in my fridge, so I'll just use them whenever and wherever I can, to be quite honest. Otherwise, I'm going to actually add some extra grated Parmesan on top, just to give that extra cheesy crunch layer as such. I'm going to bake this in the oven. Okay, uncovered, definitely do not cover it. And then make sure when it comes out to leave it to rest for about 15 minutes. It's the hardest part. It's the hardest part of this whole dish to actually, oh, and I splattered everywhere. I just love this. There's no hiding in these videos. Hang on, let me come back and get my Parmesan because I didn't even take that out either. Disregard the splatter. So I have some extra grated Parmesan cheese. I'm just going to sprinkle just a couple of tablespoons on top because why not? I've come this far. I'm going to bake this uncovered in the oven for 15 minutes. So bake uncovered, 15 minutes, take out of the oven, let it sit for 15 minutes, and then it is ready. I want to talk about double batching. If you're not interested, just skip the video. I'm going to pop this in actually while we chat about it. So for me, if I'm going to make this, I would double batch it. You could definitely buy a medium or small, disposable foil roasting tray. You could put the mixture in there, the mash, and let it cool down completely. Baking paper, foil into the freezer. Makes a great, freezer stash meal. If you're going to pop over to someone unexpectedly and want to take something in your hand, if someone's going, someone's sick, going through a hard time, had a new baby, and you want to take something around to them, you just take it out of the oven, out of the freezer, and give it to them as a gift. And also, we've gone to that much effort. It's not a lot of effort. It's just I try to make the methods as easy as possible when there is a lot more ingredients involved in my recipes, so it kind of balances it out. But I also don't like to compromise too much on flavour. I have had some people and they're like, oh my gosh, there is a bit of ingredients. I'm like, if you're going to make shepherd's pie, I feel like it's got to be a proper shepherd's pie. And if you skimp on some of the ingredients, you can go without the mushrooms, but I feel like some of the ingredients are key to making this amazing, especially that mash, the herbs, sofrito. etc. But otherwise, if you just want to double batch the mince mixture, you could freeze half of the mince mixture into, let it cool down, Ziploc bag, container, however you like. Makes great, paste, puff pastry fillers to put in the pie. If you have a pie maker, you could use this mixture to go in a pie. You can make little individual pies, puff pastry, put the mixture on top, and then make a mash at a later date. So many options. So I always think ahead of time. And if my kids actually loved my food that much more, I would be definitely double batching a lot more than I would that I currently do, to be quite honest. So anyway, it's a long-winded way of telling you how to double batch, build up your freezer stash, and get your time's worth food out of your time. Anyway, whatever. Let's put it in the oven because it smells too good and I'm getting really desperate. This is what it looks like before we put it into the oven. So I've just got a baking tray here. I've just lined it with foil just in case that sauce boils a little bit and spills over, that we don't dirty up our oven completely in our baking tray. We don't want extra added scrubbing when we're making a dish like this. So now, into the oven. Let's see what it looks like when it comes out. Fresh out of the oven. Hardest part is waiting for it to cool down slightly. The hardest part is over. Leaving it to cool down slightly. Admittedly, I have had a taste test. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, so we're just going to plate it up and I'll bring it over to the camera. Let me just show you this. Look at that. Beautiful. It is nice. And I'm going to say the word thick, but when I mean thick is that it's not a complete soup in a pan. And that's the beauty of the flour, the cookies. The veggies. The veggies have cooked beautifully, as you can see. They should be obviously soft. The mash is probably a recipe in itself. That's just the highlight of this dish. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share. If you make the recipe, which you can find the link in the comments below, it is on the website for free. Let me know what you think. You can leave a star rating over there. If you add something to the recipe, take it out. If you change any part of the recipe, let's talk a little bit about changing the recipe over in a second. I'd love to know. Again, you can leave a comment below, let me know what you think here. Let me know over my website. Let me give you a couple of options here. So obviously we discussed the mince mixture. You can use that as a pie filling. If you want to do sort of taco fold over things, you could stuff them with tortillas, whatever. It's great mince filling that is quite versatile. If you don't do potatoes, you could definitely replace potatoes with sweet potatoes, sweet potato pumpkin carrot. That's another option to go on top. If you don't have dairy, obviously leave the parmesan out of the mash, the butter and the milk. You can obviously substitute it with plant-based milk, coconut milk, coconut cream. That always works, but obviously the flavor is going to be a bit different. It'll still work, but it just will be different. But I think that if you don't have dairy, you kind of understand that by now, and you're aware of that. Anyway, enjoy. I'm dying to eat it, even though I kind of pecked at it before. Enjoy. See you guys. It's recipes like this that make cool weather that much more enjoyable. I love dishes like this. It is a bit on the heavier side, but okay. We love a winter warmer recipe. You gotta make it. This is definitely calling Sunday to me. Start cooking at mid-morning. Be great for a late lunch, early dinner. Amazing. Bye. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna eat this whole plate by myself before I go in and share the rest of it.